very early morning in my hood, in the most northern part of Denmark. It's still freezing cold, but we are, according to the weather forecast, we're going to be hit by warmth. Actually, it's been down around 7 to 10 minus this night, and it's still fairly cold. But the weather forecast actually says that the temperature is going to raise to +10, and that is a range of 20 Celsius in a couple of hours, and that is rather unusual. So everything you see here will change during the day. It will start melting and it will start raining and becoming overcast. So that's not a nice forecast really. But at the moment it's still frosty, calm. There's not any wind, and I'm on my way down to the beach to watch the sunrise over Kattegat. And remember, Kattegat is not the capital of the Vikings as it is depicted in the Netflix series. It is a shallow strait between Denmark and Sweden. But we are not in Copenhagen, where you have Øresund. You can actually see Sweden, see the houses, the lights, everything over there. This is a strait that is about, I think, 90 kilometers, or yeah, something like that, maybe even less. We can actually see the lights from Göteborg in clear water, but it's still not possible to see the Swedish coastline from where I am, where I'm living. I have my coffee with me, and now I can see this is it. Normally it's really nice, soft, warm sand, and now it's like walking on concrete. I have my coffee with me. This is one of my, yeah, you could call it Zen moments. I love to go down here to watch the sunrises. It also has a tremendous effect on my psyche and my mental balance. We live, Michael and I, a ketogenic lifestyle, and we are very into healthy life and living, and it means a lot to actually get the sun in at your face, into your eyes, which is sort of a kind of neurotransmitters, your eyes, because it sort of adjusts your hormone levels from the very start on your day. So that is also something that is beneficial for your health. So if you want to improve your mental balance and your sort of happiness, you make sure that you get your first coffee in the morning in the sun if possible, and that will sort of, yeah, it was calibrate your circadian rhythm and your hormone balance, and that's what I do. And I can see now that, yeah, I guess the sun is about to rise down there, but Normally it's right out there, but now it's November. We only have about, I think, we're here in the northern part of Denmark, 7 hours and 35 minutes of daylight, and the sun rises now, and it's in a short while, and it is I say, what is it? It's around 8 o'clock. So and you can see the lighthouse out there on Hirsholm, which is a small island. It's really sort of something where time has stood still for the past 50 years. It's a really interesting visit. The lighthouse, as you can see now, is automated. There is no longer anybody living out there. When my mom grew up, she went to school with all the kids from Hirsholm. There is a quarry out there, so lots of stones. From Hirsholm there is lots of stairs and buildings around. It is simply this huge glacier from Norway. Dumped all the loads of stuff right out there. And that is Hirsholm and the small. Now we go further down the beach. There is a reef out there, and I'll see if you might get out there before the sun actually rises. So, but it's always nice to have this morning stroll at the beach. It settles you, brings balance, happiness, and energy to your mind and body, and I love it, and I do it as often as I can possibly do. Yeah. Wow, the water is getting up. I don't want to get my feet wet. There's a lot of shells on this beach, and sometimes they just, if after a storm, it's just huge amounts of shells. And the funny thing about it is that the shells up here is quite distinct from other beaches and other shells. In Denmark we have lots of centers, water, not resorts, but where you can experience like what are the life in Øresund, in Kattegat, in Skagerrak, in Lillebælt, in all the Danish straits and coastlines, where you can actually come in, watch what kind of animals or fish live in the sea and what kind of shells. And it is so interesting to see that shells is very, very different from coast to coast and beach to beach and straits to straits. Up here we have a fair amount of amber. People have a tendency to think that amber is something that's found on the west coast of Denmark, which is not really true. Of course, there is amber on the west coast of Denmark because it is the west coast and it is the North Sea, and it used to be landlocked with England and it was forest. So there will be, and since amber is a resin from those old trees that was, is now at the bottom of the sea, of the North Sea. But we also have quite a lot of amber here on the East Coast, but it's not marketed as such. But we do get a lot of amber on the East Coast and beaches as well. But the West Coast is far more famous for amber. As you can see, the storms that we are getting now is actually doing a lot of damage to the dunes, and what used to be a very discreet stairway down to the beach is now fully exposed, and it's not a beauty. It's really something that should not be there, but that's what it is. People also have a tendency to move a lot of fern, trees down on the beach in order to protect their houses, and it doesn't really do anything apart from the fact that it looks pretty awful, because whenever the storm hits us, those fern are just being transported out in the sea, and it has absolutely no effect on how much of the dune the water takes with it back into the ocean. But it has been pretty dramatic in the recent years. More frequent storms from another direction. Up here we have always had a wind from west. That is the most prevalent this is the most common wind up here, is that it's coming from the west. But lately it has changed, and we have a lot of southeast winds, and they are really, playing havoc with our beach. But as you can see, they got a sea view, that's for sure. And maybe in the next couple of years, they have a sea view but no house. And we have a reef out there, and I can see that it's high tide now, because most of the reef is covered by the water. actually the only one on the beach, which is quite unusual because during summertime there is an awful lot of people up here. They live in the summer house that at least come in the weekend. And they, you know, that is the time of the day where everybody has sort of outgoing and, you know, walking with the dog. So there's a lot of people down here in the summer walking the dogs. And if you are a tourist planning to come to Denmark, you have to be aware that you have to have your dog on a leash on the beach in Denmark during summertime. That is from April to October. Lots of tourists is not aware of that. We have a lot of German tourists up here, and they tend just to let their dogs loose on the beach, and that is not allowed. It's really high tide now because all the stones are in the water. It is a reef and you can actually go all the way out there, but there's no chance you can do that right now. And I'm really hoping that we get a glimpse of the sun as we come around this corner here. Yeah, but I think there's a small patch of clouds that has strategically sort of placed themselves in front of the sun. This is a really good spot for char fishing and birds watching. Most of it is seagulls. And I don't know, I'm sorry, there's a lot of small birds here in the seaweed. And I'm sorry, I know the Danish names. I don't know the English names for birds. It's time for my coffee. Kattegat actually collides with each other, and if you go up there you can stand, as tourists do, and they can stand with one leg in one ocean and one leg in the other ocean, and they can actually watch how the waves collide with including me. I think you can see the rim of the sun right now. And the town there is Strandby, with the shipyard and the big crane. It doesn't add anything to, in terms of aesthetics and beauty, to the little fishing port of Strandby, but I guess it adds a lot of working places for people there, so that's a good thing in that respect. But it sure doesn't, it's not a beautiful sight, a big crane. And it really seems as if the sun can't get rid of all those clouds. But we know it's there. And that's the whole thing about being down here on the beach when the sun rises, is that it does it every day, every time, even though you can't see it. It's there. out there. You can't see what it is because amazing how they find a way of what to do. And now it's there, and it's actually burned away most of the clouds. In front of the sun, there's hardly any clouds left. And I can see it's reflected in all the windows and all the clothes. And yeah, so now I'm gonna let the sun into my brain and adjust my hormones and my circadian rhythm so I can feel energized and happy throughout the day. So remember that. Get your coffee in full sunlight. And tip a coffee when the sun rises above Kattegat. That is not a bad way to start a day. Yes, and I'm gonna head back home. It is cold this morning. I'm going that way, heading in that direction. And our house is actually not in the first row, but in the second row. So I have to go through the dunes and behind those houses. That's where I live. Thank you for now. See you in the next